Hey, good morning, all. Welcome to the Vote Common Good podcast. It is Thursday, April 22nd, and that means that we talk about issues, but because it's April 22nd, you know already it's Earth Day, and a day that we have established in this country and around the world way back in 1970, that there would be a day where we would pay attention to the Earth, a special focus. Sure, there's Valentine's Day. Sure, there's Take Your Kid to Work Day. Sure, there's, Christmas Day and Hanukkah Day, but there's also a day where we pay attention to the Earth. So on our podcast today, we want you to open your eyes, see what's going on in the world, know how you can engage in it. Feels like the one thing we all share is the Earth. And joined today by Patrick Carolan, who's a number of things, a soon-to-be again Connecticut resident, also the coordinator of Catholic Outreach and Connection for Vote Common Good, and the co-founder of the Catholic Climate Action Group. So Patrick, good to talk to you on Earth Day, and happy Earth Day to you.
Thank you. It's great to be here, Doug, and it's the Global Catholic Climate Movement. The Catholic Climate Action Group is a different group.
You did not found that group. You did not.
I didn't. I was under a steering committee.
Global. Okay. You're just a steering committee member. Well, Patrick, look, Earth Day, it's sort of the day shared by all the environmentalists when people get together. Right now, I think the President of the United States is on a Zoom chat similar to this, probably with less good graphics, though, I will have you say, than what we have. And he's talking with world leaders from around the world about the need for addressing climate change. So this is a day that, has captured the world's attention, and it's good that it is, but you'd love for every day to be Earth Day. You're sort of like that person in love that says, I'm not only going to celebrate you on Valentine's Day, I'm going to share my love with you every day. You would think that people would take every single day as Earth Day. So I didn't mention that I'm Doug Padgett in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and sitting down today for all sorts of complicated reasons I won't get into. If you're in the live stream, tell us where you're coming from and where what you're doing today. We'd love to see you and say hello to you, and what the Earth looks like from your perspective. And Patrick, even though I said you're going to be soon to be a Connecticut resident, you're currently in Maryland.
I am. I'm still in Silver Spring, Maryland, and it's a beautiful day here. I get up really early and go for a walk every morning. And so I got up, and it was a cold. It was 35 degrees. I don't know for you, Doug, that might be a heat wave. But down here, it's been 70 degrees. So
yeah, we call that summer, Patrick. It's what we call it in Minneapolis.
So, and where I live, as you know, there's several parks, and I just love to go and walk through the park. I take my dog, and we just kind of hang out in the park for a while and listen to the birds and watch the stream go and things like that. And so it's just a beautiful way to start off Earth Day and to remind me of our connection to the Earth and to the environment.
So, Patrick, you've been trying to organize Catholic leaders and Catholic people to care about the environment for a long time. Talk a bit about why that matters to you, what you think is happening, and where we sit on the Earth Day 2021. I mean, when this whole thing was ginned up, conceived of, brought to public awareness way back in 1970, there were all kinds of people thinking about that monumental year of 2020, because it's just such an important, phrase in our lexicon. It was way back in the 60s, 1960s, 1970s. They had an imagination about what environmental issues would look like in the year 2020, and now that we're a year beyond that, how are you feeling about it? What's up, and what do you think people need to be paying attention to and know about all this?
Well, let me first go back to 1970. The first Earth Day, because I was a junior in high school then. And, I remember as a kid growing up in the late 60s, and we'd see these TV commercials. I grew up in Connecticut, and there'd be TV commercials on about how pollution. And I remember one in particular was always, that back in those days, women would take their blankets and shake them out the window to get all the dust out. And they passed laws saying you couldn't do that because that was causing pollution. And then there are these commercials about things like that. And so when I think about that, what happened back then to where we are today, we've come a long way. I mean, we really have come a very long way from telling women they couldn't shake out blankets out the window to get the dust out to what we're talking about now. We've we don't have it under complete control, but we've taken action around things like air pollution and water pollution. We have an EPA. That's getting back to being running again. For 4 years, our EPA was should have been the anti-EPA. But now it's back on track again, and good people that are running it. So we're hopeful that things are going to get back on track. And I think we're in a spot where, we understand there's a problem. We're taking some steps fundamentally to solve the problem, but we haven't reached a point where we actually understand what the problem is. And what I mean by that is, back in 1967, this was 3 years before Earth Day got started, there was a man named Lynn White who wrote an article. And this is right around the same time that Rachel Carson wrote her book. And Lynn White wrote an article, and he said that our ecological problem is fundamentally a theological and an ideological problem. It's a question of how we see ourselves in relation to God and to all of God's creation. We still haven't sort of made that jump yet. We're still, looking at the earth as we're separate. We're here. We're almost visitors on Earth. It's as our friend Brian McLaren often says, do you think Jesus came with a building plan or an evacuation plan? And we're still operating under the theology of an evacuation plan as opposed to a building plan. And so until we change our theology, rethink our theology to be one more in line with what St. Francis of Assisi taught us, that we are in relationship with all of creation. We're not separate from it. We're just sort of talking around the edges of trying to solve the problem. We're not really delving deep into how do we solve the problem. And we're sort of looking at it from a transactional standpoint as opposed to a relational standpoint. So while we've come far, we still have far to go.
Yeah, I totally feel the same way. And what it feels like we've been ticking through the list of environmental issues in my lifetime. And I think it's helpful to note, as you did, that there's been some good successes, right? We used to worry a lot about I've made up a whole little list here. We used to worry about clean water. Now we still have water issues, and there's water issues around the world, but the issue of like stuff floating in the water that we saw, or, the river, I think it was in Ohio, burning because it was so full of pollution. Like, we don't do that so much anymore. We've put practices in place. We've done good things. From what happens in our sewers and what goes down the toilets and what gets thrown in the streets and doesn't end up going down into the rivers and lakes. We've done a good job. There's a lot of work left to do because a lot of corporations are still pumping stuff, into the ground that's running into water. But boy, in the last 50 years, there's been a serious change. Just garbage and recycling, a huge improvement. Yes. Back in the 1980s, when I was in high school, we had reduce, reuse, and recycle written on the walls in our lunchroom. And, now every house that I know of in the United States, recycling is, there's a can out there where you do your recycling. We've figured that out. How we deal with garbage in this world. I don't know if you've ever seen, I nerd out on like sanitation garbage stuff because it blows my mind. There's a garbage incinerator thing. I hedge because it's called plasma. It's a plasma incinerator. It doesn't burn it. It changes the molecular structure of all garbage and just eliminates it, just turns it into steam. Like, we have figured out technologically how to deal with all the garbage. Will we, I think Patrick Dan is saying we're going to restart our live stream here because it's only gone to one page. We're going to do this whole thing over again. You ready, Dan? Should we restart? Holy moly. What is going on?
Yeah, we'll restart.
All right.
Be right back,
what's happening.
everybody.
What's going on, Ecamm? Let's have a chat with these people. Let's